Hey guys, Matt here. Just a quick word about today's episode. We are talking with a good friend of ours, Jeremy Griffith, incredible mix engineer and producer. This is hands down the longest episode that we've ever done, but there are some amazingly compelling moments and stories in today's show, so make sure that you stick around for the whole thing. I promise that you'll love it. This is exactly what this podcast is about, taking a deep dive into the stories that form the bands and the music that you love. So grab some Kleenexes, because this one's a tearjerker. Here we go. Can we go ahead and do our clap? 1, 2, 3.
Great. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. Do you want to do it one more time?
I'll set the tempo with my counting of the 1, 2, 3, and then on 4 we all clap.
No, are we starting right now? That's what I'm asking.
1, 2.
Welcome to the 11T Life podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, Davey.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Davey.
Hi.
So Jeremy, a lot of people that listen to the podcast would probably know you from a bunch of different projects that you've worked on. One of the ways that you've sort of made a name for yourself is just working on a ton of genre bending / spanning projects.
Genre bending.
One of the most recent being Rad Science by 11tyseven. You are the mix engineer for that album, and hands down, it's our favorite mix that we've ever had on a record, and we have you to thank for that.
So thank you, Jeremy.
No problem. I had to save the album, but cool.
Yeah. It's true. I heard it prior and after. It's
total
light
jokes.
years.
Jokes. A lot of jokes there.
Yeah, but once you've said it, everyone's always going to wonder, like, was it a joke? Was he...
Here's
It
what we're
was
going to
a-
do.
it was a
We're
joke.
going to put the unmixed sessions in the show notes.
No,
You guys decide for yourself.
we're not leaving unmixed sessions in the show notes. It's embarrassing as hell.
It was definitely a joke, everyone.
Yeah, so a lot of our listeners might already be familiar with your work and just not know your name because you've recently done mixes / productions / involvement with Norma Jean, Some Bears. You did the 5 Iron Frenzy comeback album, like
Anthony
back in
Green?
2011, Paper Lights, Underoath, John Mark McMillan, like a bunch of artists.
Johnnyswim. That's a big one.
Yeah. So how did this all start for you?
Well, it's a very long road.
Take us back to the moment where the light bulb went off and you were like, I think I want to produce bands. I think I want to mix bands. I think I want to live in the studio.
Yeah, I think the light bulb comes on. It doesn't go off.
I think
Well,
it was
did I
very
say-
dim.
Yeah.
Oh, did I say when the light bulb went off?
Yeah, you totally
Oh, sorry.
did.
I meant like went off like, oh, girl.
Oh, God. All right, take us back to that moment.
I think my light bulb was on a dimmer, a Lutron, and
Okay.
it was always there. That was a really horrible joke. The dimmer
You know
joke.
what? I assumed that it was like a really highbrow, like fancy joke. I didn't get it.
I mean, I said dimmer, then a brand. Come on, guys.
Yeah, that's serious.
That's hardcore.
I was stoked. I was like, I just crushed it, but no one said
Yeah.
anything. No,
Yeah.
music, I hate to sound cliche, but like every kid in music, I guess we could say we grew up with music, but I legitimately had talented musician parents. But my dad was a car builder, boat builder, and my mom was a school teacher who could shred acoustic guitar and piano. And so it was always really around, you know.
Your
and-
mom was a shredder?
You know, I mean, she was really good at her style, her folk style. It was really nice
Like
to hear her.
Carly Simon.
I would go Joan Baez.
Okay.
She
Or
loved,
like
she loved Bob Dylan and stuff. And
maybe like Mickey from Mitch and Mickey. If
I don't
you've ever
know.
seen a Mighty Wind.
A Mighty Wind. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. She was very artistic. She was an incredible painter. She was a poet, all that stuff. So it was definitely around, but if we're talking about light bulbs, I think light bulbs for me, the dimmer went a little brighter when I was in college. I played college football, and I had a full ride for college football. And
Where to?
I played at the University of Houston. I was a defensive end and a nose guard. And, you know, when you get recruited for football out of high school, you know, that's kind of the only thing you ever can think about, but all the while I'm playing guitar, and I had pianos and like little keyboards and stuff. And in high school, I was actually making recordings with Walkman. So at this time, we had no technology, we had nothing, it was
See,
either.
this seems like totally crazy to me because you might be the only person that I know that maybe was on a trajectory for a career in sports and went like ended up going in a polar opposite direction. Because I played sports in high school and I hated it. And I was only doing it, I guess, to just appease parents or whatever it was that was happening. But I actually
was
loved
miserable. Sports.
Yeah, Dave is the exact opposite. He loves it.
I still love it.
Neither of us had a future in it, one way or the other.
Well, that's debatable.
I definitely had a future in it, and I loved sports, but I loved music more. It wasn't that it was a secret, because in high school, my first band, I was 15, is when I first started renting a space with a couple of my friends. We had a death metal band, and I played drums, but I still had to play football.
So the name, what was the name of the death metal band?
Insight.
Spelled?
Please tell me there's a Y in there somewhere.
There's no Y. You have to realize this is like 93, so
yeah,
clever spellings weren't around yet. But you know what I'm saying? Like, asterisk, lowercase b.
Of course. Oh, yeah.
Whatever. So, in high school, yes, I was doing football. I was very good at it. I had a lot of camaraderie with my guys. But, every weekend I'm at home trying to figure out how to record. And my first method of recording was 2 Walkmans. And so I had a mixer. I had a tiny mixer. I probably found it at church, like in the back room, like an old PV or something.
Almost any church in the South, you can walk into a closet and there's like an old Behringer or Mackie abandoned board.
Yeah, well, but let's go ahead and lay it out. There's a difference between found it and stole it from.
Well, they let me take it home.
Maybe we should clarify. Oh, they let you take it home. Okay.
Yeah, I think my mother mentioned it, like, oh, Jeremy could use that at home, and they were like, no one's using it, let him take it. So I took it home, and I had 2 Walkmans, yellow Walkmans.
Give that mixer to the folk shredder's son.
Well, my mom was a really important lady in our community, and so people would let her do whatever, So I took that home.
She's a mom boss.
She was amazing, man. It's a different story there. But so what I was doing is basically just playing, like on the first cassette, I would hit record and I'd play like guitar, and then on that Walkman, I would play it back through the mixer onto the other Walkman, hitting record and add something. And so that's basically how I started recording early. Then I found a 4-track reel-to-reel in the garage. Why?
Just laying around.
And it took years and years for me to realize why they had a 4-track recorder. And so I don't know if you guys know this, but, records came out on vinyl and they came out on reel-to-reel tape. And so they had a reel-to-reel recorder. Why they had a 4-track overdubbing recorder? Once again, don't know why, but we had that. And so I figured that thing out, and it was actually the first thing I had that would overdub. So
this is not 4-track cassette. This is 4-track reel.
Yeah, I still have it right over there, and I'll never get rid of it. It's a TIAC A2340, I think, and it actually sounds awesome. I need to get it serviced. I've thought about mixing to it because I actually know a couple mastering guys who accept 1/4 inch. So
yeah,
but it's nostalgia for me. But all that to say, when I was in high school, I had already gotten into it in a time where you couldn't get into it. You know what I'm saying?
Because why do you say that? What was it? Because of the
it was either major no, it was either major studio or nothing, because there's
accessibility.
It was so expensive to have anything to record legitimately, and the problem with the Walkmans was the 2 Walkmans ran at different speeds. So every time I'd go back and forth, I'd be like, I'm out of tune.
Yeah.
Why am I out of tune? I don't understand. So that's why the reel-to-reel was so amazing, because it actually has an overdubbing process called simulsync that allows you to overdub for
Yeah.
real. When I was in college,
Hold on. Before you make the jump to college, tell me about this. Like, what was that social dynamic with you being a kind of sports superstar in high school, but also a band person? Because where we grew up, it was like you were kind of one or the other. There wasn't a lot of intermingling of the breeds, so to speak. It was like if you did band stuff, you were kind of like kept at arm's length by all the sports guys who like didn't really quite get what you were about. Were you straddling that line, or were you the half lichen, half vampire of your day?
I just don't think I cared what anyone thought of anything, and I took care of business on both sides of it, honestly. And not to be weird, but my football buddies loved that I could play and sing guitar. They thought it was cool. And then I think my music friends did not understand the sports. If I was being completely honest, the sports people were way more open.
Oh,
yeah, dude.
It.
Like, honestly, Matt, from what you're saying there, I wouldn't quite say that characterizes where I'm from, because like we were intermingled.
No, but I went to a really small
You went to a
school.
different place.
I didn't really have a chance of like, there really were two types of people that went to my school, and it was because you just couldn't get the diversity with such small numbers.
Yeah, at my school, like the cool kids were in the bands, and like everybody wanted to hang out with those guys.
Well, you think that because you're in a band.
Well, yeah, and I was a cool kid.
I definitely think in my high school there were huge stereotypes, and I don't think people were nice to each other. But for some reason, it worked out for me, and I think it's truly a testament to my parents. I didn't have time or the patience to judge anyone, so I did my own thing. My sister did her own thing, and we just kind of flowed with it, honestly.
That's awesome.
And if they didn't like it, I just didn't care. I never cared, So football was great, and those guys are still great. Like, we're still pretty close. We are very different. Like, they come to my situation over here, and they're just like, yeah, I just don't know what to make of any of this. What is this? How do you make money? And I'm just like, good question. But no.
So actually, do you feel like this informed like what you do creatively now in the studio? Like, you kind of hit on these things about like not being judgmental and kind of just staying in your lane and being in your zone, and almost kind of wearing blinders to everything else that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it was the melding of those two kind of social constructs that maybe kept your mind opened heading into audio?
No, I can't honestly say that, because I think after college and I got into music, I think for a minute there I was pretentious about stuff. And
About what?
About music. And so, if that's what you're asking, like, I had a really hard time for the longest time having blinders on to help people just with the style of music they wanted to make. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't know if you want to get into this right now, but like with producing, one of the hardest things to get past is no matter what record you do, so much of yourself is put onto that. Like when you're producing, you don't mean to, but over the years, you really learn how to take the artist and who you are, but make something that is the artist rather than what is myself. So for the longest time, people, we couldn't truly collaborate because I was probably a little pretentious about how I thought it should sound or what parts should come out of it. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, I think in all honesty, I'm probably still a little bit there. Like, I can immediately tell something that I produced because it ends up kind of having this sort of signature Matt vibe. And normally that vibe consists of like synthesizers somewhere, or kind of maybe taking a song that shouldn't be pop and then making it into something a little bit more pop. And so I'm like, I feel like at this point in my career, I'm figuring out how to dial that back and how to help other people embellish their ideas and not impose my ideas.
Right. And I think, no matter what you do, it's still going to sound like a Matt recording. You can try all you want to emulate someone else, but you hear things the way you want to hear them.
Right.
So it's still going to come out that way. I think more than anything, it's understanding collaboration for real. Unless someone is coming to you and they really have no idea of their identity, but they just have good songs. So there's just so many different ways to balance it, so.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. So rewind back a little bit to you are in college.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like there?
Well, I'm in college. I went to college in Texas, which was a little bit of a culture shock, even for a Southern Florida kid. Florida is very different, very confusing.
What were you getting your degree in? Was it audio centric or
it was
else?
Elementary music education.
Nice. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Well, I got so much out of elementary music. I thought it was the greatest thing on earth, and I still think about it fondly. And unfortunately now most arts and music programs are gone, so I would have been out of the job. But while I was there, my second year into football, I wasn't doing great in school because I just couldn't concentrate on it, because I just felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do in general, which is really hard to say to my parents, especially my dad, just because, all American dream, your son gets a full ride for football. And my dad was a musician too, but it's still the all American dream, for him. So after 2 years, my grades had kind of slumped, and I just thought about it.
Why were they slumping?
Because I just didn't care about college.
What was it making you not care about it? Was it just that you weren't interested in getting an education at that point in your life, or you hadn't found that thing that excited you enough to be motivated? Or
Well, I think like a lot of people, I hated school, but more than anything, I just wanted to rock. I really I really wanted to go out there. I wanted to go out there and have a band. I wanted to
Hashtag meatloaf.
I didn't understand what I wanted, but I felt I was going down a path that wasn't going to be for me.
So did you have a band in college? Were you still scratching the itch there?
I was playing at some bars on the weekdays when I had any spare time, which is never if you have a football scholarship. But
oh yeah,
and I would play for friends, and I was always writing songs in my room and trying to get better at guitar. And I had a keyboard in there, and I was buying Mixer magazine and Sound on Sound just because I was so into it, and everybody thought I was nuts.
And those are really expensive magazines if you're in college. They're like $15, $16 a pop.
I just did what I had to, bro.
Yeah, no, I get it. I've totally been there.
I just was so curious about the technical aspect of it, to be honest with you. And I've never been a great problem solver or anything like that, but I loved the fascination with gear and mixing consoles and all that stuff, even though I had no clue what they were at the time.
Did you have access to any of this stuff in college? Or
No, I did not.
Wow.
I was at Houston. My coaches wanted me to be a business major because it's the easiest one. And
of course,
I wanted to be an elementary music education major where you have to go to operas and, actually care. And, all together, it just wasn't the right fit. The guys, my teammates and stuff, we're still friends. We still meet up. They still hold me dear, even though I left so early, so it's really cool. But after I left...
So did you drop out of college?
I dropped out.
Wow. So how close were you to getting your degree before you dropped out?
I was 2 years in.
So you played football for 2 years, and then what was the moment where you realized that you were going to have to bail?
I can't really remember a particular moment. I think I just knew something wasn't right. I can't really pinpoint it. I know it was a huge struggle for my parents when I said, "Hey, I'm not going back," and me telling my coaches and them like going insane, but
yeah.
Let's walk through how your parents took it. Like, was it more of a dad wanted you to be there to play football and mom wanted you to go through elementary education, or was it maybe different than that?
Well, I think you kind of hit it on the head there. I mean, my mom, we didn't have any money. We were poor folks. After my dad was in Fed prison for 8 years. After that, we were just broke as a joke.
Your dad went to prison.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
8 years. So
we don't have to get into that.
Yeah, we don't have to.
No, I don't care at all. I mean, my dad's been passed away for 12 years.
Yeah. Well, so what did he go? What did he go to? I mean, I just got through watching Making a Murderer, so I've got some questions.
He went for insurance fraud, major insurance fraud. My dad had a really successful boat business called Dynaflight, and he also owned multiple like muffler shops, and he was he made all these cars. And I never really got the truth, but I'm pretty sure he at some point had the buildings all burned down for insurance money. And so
wow.
I all the details are kind of fuzzy because I was so young, but I think he actually got sentenced like 30 years and
Wow.
which is crazy to think about, but a lot has changed.
So how old were you at that point?
It's funny. I can kind of pinpoint better when he got out. I think I was around 14 when he got out.
So let's back it up.
Oh my God.
14?
So
you're 8.
Yeah. So like 8 years, you were basically like without dad, or you are
every other
visiting
weekend.
him,
Every other weekend we saw him. And in Florida at the time, I don't know if it's changed, but for federal prison, you start at the maximum security and you work your way down to what they call the camps, the level 1. And so the first year or so, we're seeing him at maximum security, where you got to go through like metal detectors, and they put these like this weird ink on your hands and these black lights everywhere to make sure you're official. And there's like a guy sitting with you. You work your levels down until dad's in a normal outfit and you're at a picnic table at what they call a camp.
Wait, so help me get my numbers right on this, because it sounds like if he did 8 years of time on a 30-year sentence, like you would have been 6 at the time he got put away?
Maybe that's right. Yeah, something like that. Like I said, it is really fuzzy. I don't know if I've blocked it out of my memory, or you know what I mean? Like,
so it was just you and your mom for a long time.
Me, my mother, my sister, and my Uncle Kim, who had Down syndrome, who I grew up with.
Yeah.
Wow. So your mom was sort of running a pretty complex ship all by herself.
Oh, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, just starting with my Uncle Kim, her brother, he had Downs, and that's like, he was the most amazing person I've ever met. I miss him dearly, but it's like having a 3-year-old for your entire life. So when my grandparents died, my mom made a vow to her mother that she would never let my uncle be put in a home, and that's how it went.
Yeah.
So we grew up with Uncle Kim and my sister, Rebecca, and things were really tough, really dark times after Dad went to prison. Dad and my mom weren't together when he went to prison, but my dad was very successful before prison, and then after prison and during prison. I mean, my mom filed for bankruptcy. We lost everything. So
gosh,
it's 2 different lives. You know what I mean? Like, not to be a downer here, but it's just before it and after it. So
right. So your life before that was like age 0 through 6, but then your life 6 to X
to 14
sort of the after,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, when you're a young person, you don't comprehend everything. It wasn't until I was a little older that I was like, okay, all my dad's friends are convicted criminals as well.
Yeah.
This is strange, and
yeah.
Going to a federal prison on Christmas and all that shit is just, it's bizarre, but that's how it went for us.
Yeah. Did you feel like it was bizarre in the moment? Like, as a 6 to 10-year-old, did you know that this wasn't normal?
No, I don't think so at that point. I think it was just like Dad had to go somewhere, and that's where we have to go see him. But when I got older, for sure, I think I got impatient with it, and I didn't want to deal with it, or I didn't want to sit in the lobby while my dad got strip searched. You know what I mean? Like, not that I had to see it. I'm just saying I got to understand the process of him coming down, to see us from like his dorm, where you know what I mean, and so. It got to where I didn't want to go anymore, and I think
so your mom and dad are separated at this point. So your dad goes to prison, your parents are separated. Please correct me if I'm wrong here. And then, but she's still taking you to see him every other week, and you guys do this for close to 8 years.
Yep. Mom never remarried. She said my dad was the love of her life, and she never wanted to be with anyone else, and so she didn't need anyone else. It was actually really extraordinary.
This woman sounds incredible.
It doesn't sound real.
She was really special. We really miss her. But I think she just knew she wasn't going to let us not have a father, even though my dad was kind of a screw up in that way. He was very charismatic and extremely talented, but I mean, he made a lot of poor decisions.
Sure.
But she just, he put her through the ringer. Like, he had an affair and he remarried in jail. A lot of people do that,
Oh my God.
And she just didn't let us miss out. I think it ripped her apart, but I don't think she ever, I just remember her, like we'd leave the prison or something, she'd be crying and I wouldn't understand why. And, as an adult now, I understand why. She was heartbroken the rest of her life. So, but she was just so strong and wanted to take care of us.
It sounds like she was keeping her focus on you guys. that maybe she was drawing strength from just.
That's all she had.
Yeah.
She had no money. She had a job. Her parents were gone. All she had was us. And she poured her concentration into us. Therefore, is the reason I became who had the guts to drop out of college, honestly.
Wow.
So, when I told my mom.
Do you feel guilty for that? Do you feel guilty for dropping out of college, or do you just kind of chalk it up to, hey, I was young and dumb, and that's a lot to deal with at one time?
To me, it sort of sounds like you're proud of it. You're saying
I'm actually
that you
really
had the guts
proud
to
of
do
it.
Yeah,
I'm proud of it because it was the right decision. Maybe financially, I'm not some juggernaut, but I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Like
taking care of your mom.
Well, not that. I'm saying in music, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and I can't tell you how many people I know who aren't doing what they love to do. Or
right.
I mean, I have tons of friends who are millionaires who hate their lives.
Yeah.
And my job is hard. This is a hard business, and it's cutthroat, and I lose a lot and I fail a lot, but I also win a lot, and I get to create. I mean, geez, this is amazing. So
yeah.
I think my mother, the day I told her I was leaving college, she cried for a second, and then she goes, I'll support you no matter what. You do what you have to do. Just know it's going to get hard. And I was like, I know. She's like, but you got this. But my dad was just like, he lost his mind. He didn't talk to me He didn't talk to me for over a year. Go ahead.
So do you think that, like, why do you think your dad lost his mind? Do you think it's like
he's sitting in prison?
Yeah, he's seen what it looks like.
And you're the one deciding that you're going to take a direction in life, and it doesn't involve insurance fraud.
Well, at this point, he's out of prison for a while.
Okay.
This is college, so I'm 20.
Yeah. So he's been out for 6 years.
Yeah. I think honestly at this point, I understand. I have a son. My son's very young, but if that happened to me, I think I'd be upset too, on multiple.
Sure.
Because of the way our culture is set up, you go to college, you get a degree, you get a real job, For my dad, it was like the double whammy. It was football, which I was doing great at. I was great at football. I could crush people. It's fine.
Yeah. Did you have a chance to make it to the pros? Because Case Keenum went to Houston.
That's right. A lot of people went to Houston. There was a lot of great players. I can't say that I did. I don't know. You don't know until you're... It's not like it is now. Now they are projecting who will go pro as soon as you sign your letter of intent to your college.
Right.
Yeah.
Back then, there was no ESPN section on high school recruiting, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it's just blown out. At that point, it was like one little article. I signed, a letter of intent to go to Houston. Everybody was happy. It's fine. It just wasn't the same. But I don't know if I would have ever had a shot. Honestly, I probably didn't have the speed. But maybe at that time I did. I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is all like pretty... You've had a pretty heavy life leading up to 20. You end up in a band, and you guys end up signed. How'd that come to pass?
Well, this is when Dad comes around and it gets really cool, actually. So Dad didn't talk to me for a while. Mom's full support mode the whole time,
Sure.
And Dad comes around, and he's just, at this point, I can tell he just wants to be a part of my life, which I loved. Because deep down, even though my dad was a tough guy and he loved sports and all that, he was a creative too.
Yeah.
Extraordinary, like blow your mind what he could do.
Yeah.
And so he kind of started embracing it. And I remember one time at this point I had like a 4-track recorder, like that Tascam, that like green one, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I wanted him to approve of something. So I recorded an Elvis song because my dad recorded Elvis for him.
Yeah.
And I took it over and played it for him. And he cried. And I was like, I'm not trying to make you cry, dude, but I want you to know that I'm serious.
Yeah.
Which Elvis song?
Well, I did Are You Lonesome Tonight? And then this is where it's really funny. My dad got really supportive, but at that same moment where he cried, he was like, son, what's the point? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, Elvis is dead. There's nowhere to go but down. And then he started giggling. He was
dad
like,
shit.
But he was just like, like, haha.
Yeah.
And then he had full support. So Dad, I started, I was at home. I was trying to find a band or some guys to play with. And Dad was like, while you're here trying to get your feet on the ground, come work at the shop.
Yeah.
So my dad had this custom car shop. It was awesome. And he's like, he did a lot of restorations, like full restorations and stuff. And
so even coming out of jail, he's or prison actually, he He still had businesses that he kind of kept above water, and then or did he start new ones?
Is new.
Okay, cool.
This is new. He had a couple friends who helped him financially. I don't know if the new business ever did well, but he was doing what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Which was
your dad sounds like a hustler, like not in a bad way. Like my dad's a hustler, and that hasn't always gone so well. Like it sort of made me a hustler.
But God, they're so
it sort of sounds like
resourceful.
you're a hustler.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's how he made his money. I mean, he, in some ways, conned people into believing in him to do something great. So,
yeah.
And they would, and he would do magnificent things. He built some cars you would not believe. So at this time, he called me one day and was like, Jeremy, there's this factory out by the dump that my friend Jimmy Whitfield owns. And there's this huge room. We should go look at it for your music space. And I was like, really? And he was just like, yeah, I think it'd be great. We should go look at it. And we went out there and looked at it. And it was next to the dump was this metal like recycling factory. But inside of it, they had this massive like empty room. And Jimmy Whitfield was like, I'll rent it to you for $300. And I was like, this is crazy. It's huge. So Dad's like, I really want to help you out. I'm going to pay for it for 6 months.
Wow.
And I was like, 6 months for real? And he was like, yeah, I know this is going to be tough. He's like, but you got to fix
Elvis
it up.
cover is paying off for you right now.
Totally. The Elvis cover was a big move, but I think more than anything, he just wanted to be a part of my life. And I think he then got excited about the idea of me as a singer more than anything. And so he was like, but you got to fix it up. I'm not going to help you with that. So I remember it was really funny. I cleaned it out, and it was the most badass room. I actually recently went over there to see if it was still there because I was like, I would do it again in there. But
man,
I went to my friend's flooring business. My friend's parents had a flooring business, and I was like, do you guys have any old carpet you don't want or anything? And they're like, we got boxes and boxes of samples. So they gave me every sample.
Oh my God.
And
you hodgepodged it?
Yeah, I did the whole floor in these samples, and this room actually had AC and heat, which was weird. Little puberty voice there, sorry. And I put my little desk in there and my drum set and my 2 amps and all my guitars. And at this point, I skipped a little bit. I had invested in an old PC, now new PC at that time, and I had an Echo Darla card. Do you remember Echo cards?
I vaguely remember hearing people talk about them on Gear Sluts or something.
Echo Darla was like one of the first companies to make actual interface analog A to D. But before that, real quick on the Gear, I had the 4-track.
Yeah.
Then I went 8-track mini disc.
Yeah.
And then, this is really expensive at the time. So I'm like saving every penny I have. Mom's helping me with whatever she has. And so after the 8-track recorder, I had a 16-track mini disc. Then at the same time I had the 16-track recording system, I bought the PC and a 2-track or a 2-channel interface Echo Darla.
Wow.
So Dad got me a desk. I had some like Iowa speakers that were my monitors. Yeah. I think I set them up on planters so it would look like a studio. And at this time, internet wasn't cranking really. So this is just off of like pictures I had seen of studios. And so being able to like put together a system, really hard to do.
Yeah.
It was all magazines and, phone orders or anything, but I couldn't afford a thing, so
yeah.
This was my first place where I could like immerse myself completely in music, and there was no volume problems. Like this is a factory, so I could do whatever I want.
Sure.
So
which is a big deal because there's nothing more creatively stifling than getting a call or having the cops show up.
It's absolutely the worst thing on earth.
Yeah.
About this time, I had met up with a friend named Jake Brown, who was in this band called 238.
Oh, I remember those guys. Weren't they on Tooth and Nail for a minute?
Yeah, they were from our town, and they were like local celebrities, kind of. They were great. Incredible band live. And so Jake wasn't in 238 anymore, and he was like, dude, let's start a band. So he and I got together, and we worked on some songs. I had a ton of songs at this point. Tons that I had recorded just by myself on the 16-track recorder and in the early versions of Cubase that I had. Yeah. He knew a couple other guys, a guy named Brandon and a guy named Justin, and we started this band called Postcard Audio.
Postcard Audio.
All right.
Nice.
we're talking, but what year is this? Is 2000? 99? 2000?
Yeah, I was just entering high school. Davey was still in middle school while that's happening.
Yeah, so we start this band, and like any band, what's the dream? The dream is to get a van and play any outside town shows, any out of town shows. And so
or like getting out of state is like, you feel like, oh my god, we've made it. We played
huge.
an out of state show.
Well, here on the Gulf Coast, there were three places you tried to get to. Excuse me. Tallahassee, New Orleans, or Birmingham.
Wow.
Which is funny because what about Atlanta? I don't know, but
yeah.
But we never even thought about Atlanta. I think the big one was Birmingham, honestly. I think there was a huge scene there. There was this record shop called Slacker 66.
Yeah.
Owned by this guy named Chad Johnson, who was a big deal at Tooth and Nail eventually. And he had a label called Take Hold Records.
God, I feel like I remember seeing that around somewhere.
It was like just another kind of standard Christian indie label that had some cool bands, but Slacker 66 was like this legendary venue. Like everyone played there at the Drive-In, Jimmy Eat World, all those great bands from our scene. So we always aspired to get there, but we could never get a show at Slacker 66. But we got a show at this pizza place in Montevallo,
next door.
Montevallo, Alabama, which this is funny too, because one thing I'm really sad about is I think the days of the pizza place shows that are packed are kind of over. And that makes me sad because we would have a show wherever we could. It just didn't matter where, a hotel lobby, let's party, whatever. We don't care.
I think the last show ever played in a bowling alley was in the Josie and the Pussycats movie in 2004.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that applies to this conversation. Thanks for your input.
Thanks, Matt. But
you're welcome.
We played this Montevallo, Alabama show, which was like a dream gig for us because the main bands were Branson and a band called the Liars Academy.
Wait, who was the Rancid?
Branson.
Branson.
Okay, that's not Rancid.
Yeah.
That's
no, and so I wish it was Rancid. It'd have been brutal.
I know, damn.
We're gonna quit talking and just let you keep.
Yeah, you go ahead.
No, it's fine. We played the show. We opened it. It was absolutely packed. Like I said, one of those awesome times in the world where a pizza place would be packed for this awesome show, and these great bands that had been working really hard and touring stopped. In Montevallo, Alabama, to play a show. Anyway, the Liars Academy loved our band. They wanted our demo, which I had recorded on my Echo Darla, which sounded pretty funny. Like when I listen to it now, I'm still like, I did okay, considering. So long story short here, and I'm sure this will be another part of our conversation, they went to a studio in DC with this producer named Brian McTurnan.
Okay.
And Brian McTurnan did like Engine Down and Cave In and Thrice and Snapcase and all these like really well-known hardcore bands. And he had actually just signed a deal with Atlantic as an A&R, and he gave us a call. Hence how we signed a major label deal straight out of Fort Walton Beach, Florida.
Wow.
So all from Montevallo, Alabama. So that's a whole nother story. God.
So you're like heading out to, because your dream is to play this Slacker 66 venue in Birmingham, which we've been through Birmingham, but I had at no point did it ever strike me that there was a strong music scene there. And granted, this is before our time, so maybe like that kind of died down.
It's gone
by the time we were touring around there.
Yeah, I mean they had a huge festival there called Furnace Fest, which was in this place called Sloss Furnace, which was this crazy factory, and it was huge. Like thousands of kids would show up to hear all these hardcore bands. But
so you create this demo in a hollowed out recycling factory next to a dump that your dad is footing rent for you on, and you're like using this brand new technology that's just come out. People are just now starting to record on computers, and like the prosumer market is like an embryo still at this point. And you create this demo. You guys go and play this one show
at a pizza place.
At a pizza place, not even getting to play at the actual venue that you want to play at.
You get signed to Capitol Records.
Atlantic.
Atlantic.
You meet a band there. The band passes on your demo to a producer friend of theirs. which hardly ever happens. Like as many people as we had come up to us while we were touring and hand us demos and be like, hey, can you do something with this? We were kind of like, we have enough problems of our own. Like we don't have time to
Can you do
try to
something
help
with
you
our demo?
manage your career. Yeah. Can you get us off this label, please?
Well, it's funny you say that because I think the Liars Academy literally were at his studio recording like one song.
Yeah.
And I think they were listening to it on a boombox while they were having lunch. And he walked by and was like, what is that?
Wow.
It's one of those 1 in a million things that happens. Perfect timing, and
It's like several paths all converging on one point in time that leads to you being successful.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. But, honestly, that was the beginning of, hell on earth, some of the hardest things I've ever been through. But anyway, to ask me another question, because I'll just keep talking.
So how did life change after that? You guys end up, I'm assuming you probably signed a really shitty deal because you're 20 somethings and Atlantic offers you a deal and they have way more legal power than you do. Did you even know an attorney to help you navigate that? Or
No,
what did life look like for you?
We didn't know anybody. We didn't know ourselves. So,
yeah,
I don't think I read one sentence in the deal.
Oh my God.
I think I made sure my name was on it. I'm 20 years old. I don't know.
Dude, I remember being there. I remember if anyone were to offer me anything, I'm signing it.
We signed our first deal when I was 19, but I at least tried to skim through it and see that it wasn't hey.
Well, the horror stories weren't out really yet about bands being screwed and labels being evil. I think it was just more viewed potentially as a huge business.
Sure, yeah.
And a lot of it for me inside was what's the right word? Is it not gratification, but
validation?
Validation, sorry, that my decision was correct.
Right.
And so I really wanted that. I really wanted to be look, parents, even though it got way harder, I told you, I believe in this. So,
yeah.
And I think it really did. Obviously, it changed everything with my parents. It just went from it went from, we support you to full blown trust and believing in me. So,
wow.
It was really important just for that. So I will sign that contract today if it meant the same thing.
Right.
So I don't think the contract was bad though. The more I think about it, it was just, I think it was very standard and they were just buying up bands all over the place just to see which one would do it.
Yeah.
And then you really don't get screwed until you nail it and you start making tons of money. That's when you get screwed, but we never did. We spent tons of their money, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the things that nobody ever talks about is if you never recoup for the label, it's not in or at least in most contracts, they have no way of coming after you. It's if you don't pay the money back, just walk away.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't even care. I can honestly say they were pretty nice. They didn't like that I was a big person. They have, I think all labels and anything in that kind of mainstream media, it's tough if you're not the perfect looking person. And at the time, in college, I weighed 330 or so. And then by the time...
You were a nose tackle.
That's right. And by the time I was lead singing in my band, I probably weighed 220.
Wow.
Yeah. So I lost all this weight, but it was never good enough, that aspect of it. But I can honestly say most everyone was nice and fine. It's just a huge business. And if you don't understand that it's a huge business, that's where you get hurt.
Yeah. Or it's an image business.
It's an image business. Sure, they love music, but they also don't care. They're not, most of those people at major labels probably aren't trying to sign their favorite artists.
Right.
Of course not.
They're out there okay, let's get this girl, right? She can crush it. She could be huge. We could sell her to Hollister. You know what I mean? I'm just being honest. So. No one was ever super brutal other than our producer. He was pretty awful. So
who did you guys get to produce your first record with Atlantic?
It was the guy, Brian McTurnan.
Wow.
It was his deal. And he and I don't like each other. I don't think if he saw me in public, he would even act like I was there, but it was just really hard. It's really hard.
What was so hard about it? What didn't you like about that recording process?
Well, at that point it was a machine.
Sure.
The one thing I can say about modern recording and everyone having their own system is that there's actually no formula anymore, which I really love. I mean, it makes it harder on people like me who make their money off of helping people make their recordings sound wonderful or as good as it can, but so many people are good at it now. At that point, Brian somehow was, I think when he recorded us, he was like 27 and he had the most baller studio I've ever seen. Like still I think about his studio and I'm just like, how did he do that?
At 27 too.
And he was a poor kid. He came from nothing also out of the DC area and he was crushing it. And so his process I really hated. I hated the perfection of it and the formula. Like once we went in there and recorded, I started to actually do my research. And, granted, this happened so quickly that I didn't even have time to like modern bands, I feel like, or most people start to fall in love with certain sounds, certain producers, certain mixers. I didn't even have time for that. I didn't even know. Yeah. I'm just like, oh, he did Cave in Jupiter. I know I love Cave in Jupiter, but guess what? Yeah. My band isn't Cave in Jupiter. It's not going to sound like that. But at that age, you just don't totally comprehend all of that. So I'm in the studio and I'm just letting him do whatever he wants. And then I'm starting to do a little research and I'm like, oh my, everything sounds exactly the same. We are not going to rise above. But, I felt at the time I just had better songs, but I don't know if I did. So, and he just didn't like me and I didn't really like him. And he was so hard on me about my weight and all that stuff because he was trying to build this machine, of our band, And, I have said in a few other talks with people that I learned more from him about what not to do in my job than what I learned to do, so
do you feel like in those moments were you challenging the authority? Like you felt like you could have done a better job with the tools that this kid had?
I wasn't getting that impression.
No.
I'm just wondering because it makes sense if you did, right? You came from nowhere, you had hustled to get to where you were, and then you saw this kid crushing. It doesn't make any sense how he has all this stuff, and now you don't understand his process either.
Well, honestly, I think it all happened so quickly that I never took a second to step back and think that I had to hustle to get myself there. You know what I'm saying? Like, in a small way, it was a blur. Like, it just happened so easily.
Yeah.
Where looking back, it was hell. All of it was hard. I just, maybe I had a good attitude about it.
Yeah.
And I just didn't realize,
Right.
But I don't think I walked into his studio in an envious fashion. I think I was just like, whoa, this is beyond me. I imagine it's how somebody might feel now who would walk into my studio. They would just be like, whoa, this is crazy.
Right. Well, if I know you, I'm assuming you're probably going into the studio and you're like, oh shit, there's all this really cool gear. This guy's made some successful records. He's putting out some successful bands. I'm going to learn every single thing that I can and take this back to the recycling factory.
But I didn't. I didn't do that. No, I don't know why. I've had a talk with my old drummer about this a ton. And I'm like, man, why weren't we just geeking out? He's like, I have no idea. And I think it was the noise of the industry we had just falling into. It was more about how to survive, how to be the next U2. Yeah. Oh no, the Mars Volta just came out with an album. There's a singer that sings higher than me. We're screwed. There was no, just being honest, there was no thinking about the tools. Later on, I tried to think about it and remember it. I don't remember anything. I let him do what he does. And so thinking about the process later on is what got me bummed, but personally is he and I is what made it hard.
Right. Just personal clashes.
His attitude and everything. I'm like now, if I was in there, it'd get raw.
Do you feel like it was just negative and overbearing, or
he was just a dickhead, man? Straight up. Yeah. Straight up a dickhead. And I don't know who he is now. That was 2001.
Yeah, he was 27.
Yeah, that's true.
Most 27-year-olds are dickheads.
And he was crushing it.
Yeah.
So
he has no reason not to be a dickhead.
You're absolutely right. But looking back, I also feel like I owe so much to him because of that band. I met countless people. I met the bands that would project me into a place where I could actually have a career in music too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I owe a lot to him, but I hope I never talk to him again.
I totally get that. I learned more from producers by watching what not to do than I've ever learned by watching what to do.
We have a surprise for you.
Yeah.
Oh no.
We actually got him on FaceTime, which is why we couldn't get FaceTime to work. And
Dude, that would be fun. That'd be hilarious. He'd probably come in and just start railing me about my mixes. I'm in the low end, just isn't tight enough.
yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, so that's that.
Well, that's cool. So you guys ended up doing, did you end up doing any touring with that first record? Like it came out on Atlantic. Did you remember what the budget was for that record?
You know, I remember him saying like it's a really low budget, like $75,000.
Good Lord. What can $75,000 get you today?
Well, and back then, $75,000 was a smaller budget.
Yeah,
it was
on average,
not uncommon to do like
$500,000.
$250,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I think $250,000 to $500,000 was the average.
Yeah.
So that was a good deal at the time, and everything was more expensive. But yes, we toured, I can say this honestly, almost 2 years straight. Like maybe 2-3 weeks off. So that, you know, at this point you have a lot of power, you know, with your label. And so like they gave us Pinnacle booking, and this guy named Ryan Harlacker, who's huge. So I don't know what they told him, but they said, just put him on tour, never let him go home.
Yeah.
And so we did the worst tours for us imaginable. So our first tour ever was the best tour for us, and it was Engine Down. And do you guys remember Engine Down?
Like vaguely.
I don't at all.
I don't
Just
think I
an
was ever into them.
amazing 4-piece like indie rock band out of Richmond. Really good guys. Like kind of technical, dark indie, really good. And that tour was great. Like I don't think the fans like loved us, but there was no booing, you know. But then
That's success at that point, though,
if there's
right?
no
That's right.
booing. Yeah, you're good.
Well, then it just got worse and worse. Like they put us on this massive tour when that band Thrice was at their highest.
Yeah.
In like 2004, and it was like Thrice, Darkest Hour, and gosh, who were the other ones? A bunch of different bands, but you know, you go from playing these tiny shows to these massive shows where the people just hate your music, like brutal stuff. And honestly, I had a really thick skin for a long time, and I could just handle it. And then finally, I just got to a point with it where I was like, "Why do we keep doing these tours? Like, why did we just play a show with Hatebreed? Like, you know, like."
So, what kind of music were you? You guys were a hardcore band, right?
No, we were kind of like, I'd say comparable to Further Seems Forever, more chill. Further Seems Forever.
So, why did you play a show with Hatebreed?
Exactly. Good question.
These are good questions to ask.
I mean, right after our Thrice tour, which was really hard, like, honestly, I did not like that tour at all. We did Avenged Sevenfold with My Chemical Romance.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And I will say this.
That had to be massive, though.
It was massive. They weren't as big, you know, My Chemical Romance became one of the biggest bands in the world, and now Avenged is still. But I can honestly say, as hard as that tour was too, they were really sweet to us. Like, I know Avenged Sevenfold is like frowned on or something. Like, I don't know if they've built this persona that they're like just these BA dudes, you know, but dude, they were so kind to us and took care of us, and My Chem guys were really sweet, and that tour, like, morale wise, was uplifting, even though we were getting our ass handed to us every night by the crowd.
So talk to us about that. What do you mean by getting your ass handed to you? Like actual booze?
Is it because you're the opener on this tour, so you have the shortest time slot, or you're a brand new band, you haven't had a bunch of records out yet?
You can tell Matt and I both have a lot of experience and no one liking us, and that's why we have all these answers for the question.
Is it just that we weren't in your band and that's why it didn't work?
No, we were legitimately getting booed. People hated it. You know, it was just the wrong tour. You know, the few tours we did with the bands who were like us, we did fine. Like, you know, it went from nobody coming up to our merch booth to, you know, maybe 5 to 10 to 20 people just coming by and being like, "Oh man, you guys were great. I came to see." Because we eventually did do a tour with Further Seems Forever. You know, that tour was great. Like, it wasn't a huge tour.
Is this back when Chris was singing for them, or is this when the other guy, what's his name, was singing with them?
Well, this is actually when John Bonch sang. And John passed away a couple years ago. He was the singer of Sensfield.
Sensfield, yeah.
He was awesome, but John, he, as good of a singer as he was, he just did not fit that Further Seems Forever mold. This little hot indie kid with muscles running around and jumping. He just wasn't that. He he was actually like a creative with a really melancholy soul. And so no one gave a shit. It sucks.
Yeah.
He was a really good person. But that tour though, we were playing on that tour and people were actually like, yeah, I really liked it. I think I'll buy a CD. We're like, we're selling a CD.
We're selling a CD. We just got off tour with My Kim, Thrice, Avenged Sevenfold. Now we're selling a CD.
Hey, but that just goes to show that it's like not every tour is an awesome tour, even if all the bands are awesome on it.
That's
there can
right.
be too much awesome, or it's just not a good pairing. Or sometimes you get those bands where their fan base is just so ravenous that when fans show up to see that band, everything that's not that band just feels like an annoyance.
Well,
to
it's
them.
a perfect illustration of market segmentation.
True.
I mean, you're
It's
right.
true-
But
it's true
like
statement.
Thrice, the guys were really kind. They were good people and they were a very good band. Like I can still look back on Thrice and be like, oh, they're actually creative people that started out as a SoCal like hardcore punk band and actually became really diverse.
Incredible band.
Incredible band and really nice guys, but they have no power over their fans. They can't come out and be like, guys, hey man, chill out. Let's be cool tonight. They're just like, hey man, how did the set go? And I'm like, oh, a kid threw a shoe at me, hit me in the face, but whatever. And he'd be like, oh man, they're kind of rowdy out there. But also that was a really strange time in music. This like crossover, hardcore, pop,
/ rap.
Well, the rap wasn't in it there, but like I'm just saying, as far as like the kids were confused, and I think the kids just wanted to freaking rage out.
Yeah.
And so we just weren't ragers. We were gloomy. Like, we told the lighting guy, like, hey, bro, red lights only. No, like, dark stage, please. Lots of delay on the vocal. Thanks.
That's so emo.
But I'm a melancholy person. I still write, like, melancholy jams, so.
Yeah,
dude, I saw Nightmare of You. That was like a British melancholy band. And with Dillinger Escape Plan one time.
Whew.
It was the strangest day of my life. Quite honestly, the strangest day of my entire life. I sort of get where the kids are coming from.
Yeah.
Totally. And I got to real quick go back to Hatebreed and give them props for a second because I'm not like a huge Hatebreed fan or anything, but we got thrown on this Hatebreed show because we were on tour with Avenged Sevenfold, My Chemical Romance, and the same night, Headbangers Ball Tour was on tour as well, and it wasn't what it had become. It became this thing, this like festival.
Yeah.
So they combined the tours. We played this huge place in Jacksonville, Florida, and we were going to be the first band, and it was packed. And the Hatebreed dudes, I don't know if they like researched us or what they did, but they definitely knew that we shouldn't have been there. And those dudes, credit to these dudes, sat on the stage with us while we played, and the people just stood there and didn't do anything.
Wow.
Because they knew that they
actually sat on stage with you?
Because they were afraid that their fans would be totally not into it or get violent.
Dude, if you've ever looked up a like Hatebreed show on like YouTube, dude, it's chaos. It's like a Pantera show. You know what I mean? Like, just everyone's there for one objective: to lose it. So, they like protected us, and then after we got done playing, they were like, "Dude, great set." They're like shaking our hands while we're like breaking down our gear.
That's amazing.
So I don't know those dudes and whatever, but to this day, I'm like, appreciate it, guys. Like,
you saved my ass on that one.
I thought it was really cool, really good gesture. Yeah, we toured a lot, and it was horrible. So
those are some incredible stories, though, because it's like you guys understood on these shows that it probably wasn't going to go well.
Yeah.
Right. For most of these nights, you knew this crowd's not going to like us, but we have to go out there and play anyway.
Well, if they've been doing it for 2 years, they can obviously read the room.
Doesn't take machine learning to know this is going to suck.
Well, I think the worst part about it, and maybe the best part, is that I just realized I wasn't a front man. Like, I can identify as a great singer, and I could write a good song, and I enjoy instrumentation and everything, but I didn't have the mental energy to get out there and convince all these people that they should be listening to me. Like, you watch like a video of like Freddie Mercury and you're just like, how's he do it?
Oh yeah.
90,000 people cannot do anything but do everything he says to do.
Yeah, and you sort of get the vibe that even in that same situation where like if Freddie Mercury were alive today and fronting a band and he had to play before Hatebreed, you feel like he could pull it off.
Yeah.
I really do. And I just don't think
yeah.
that's something I was equipped with. And that's okay. Like, I'm totally fine with being someone who doesn't have that X factor. Like Gerard Way from My Kim, when we were on tour with them, they weren't popular.
Yeah.
And dude, he would piss off the crowd, but he also had them in the palm of his hands where they could not do anything. Might be mad at him, but by the end of the night, whole merch table packed.
Yeah, he's
People
great,
like,
man.
what's his deal, man? What's that guy's deal, man? He was crazy. And I'm just like, well, now you're talking to the merch guy. I bet you leave with a sticker. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he just had that thing, and it was a great thing about the touring was me realizing that actually isn't who I am. I can perform, but there's a difference between a performer and someone who can perform. So
see, that's so interesting to me, because I feel like throughout our entire career, I was always walking that line, like to be that person that I would have enjoyed watching on stage. I had to push myself to a point where I would just kind of lose my mind and not care. But then I became really volatile, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I would just kind of like work myself up into this frenzy where it was like I knew everyone was having a good time, but it was because I had no ego whatsoever and no boundaries whatsoever. So there were times where like I put people in danger, like I made decisions on stage that I shouldn't have made. And I was like constantly trying to rectify those two people of like, well, is there a way to like dial this back, or is it, I don't know. It's like the conflicting personalities thing where it's like, I don't know necessarily if I'm a front man or a good front man, but
yeah,
I think to play that part.
I think that's what made you probably a great front man, is that you probably had the identity of not knowing, like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the thing with Matt. I'm just going to jump in because I got to see a lot of this. And, my appreciation for it has changed a lot over time. When we were doing it, when we were touring all the time, we all just wanted to make it, or whatever that means. So like we know there's some game plans on how to do that, and there's a way that you need to look cool in these situations and look this way and do things this way, because that's the roadmap laid out in front of you. And if you do that, you'll have your odds are better, right?
Yeah.
Matt, you sort of had like somebody put the engine of a rocket ship into like a Ford Fiesta and then tried to control it with like the transmission of the Ford Fiesta. And it's like,
I love that it's a Fiesta.
Yeah, it's a Fiesta.
It has to be.
It's a Fiesta. So Matt would get so worked up, like he was saying, he wouldn't even sing the words of the song. He would go into this caricature, like this character that's like, and he would just like nom the words of the song and like do the.
I call it channeling my inner Scott Stapp.
And he would do it in the Scott Stapp voice, and then he would just scream at the kids, like death metal screaming. And he said, "Is this what you want, Illinois?"
Yeah, but that's like a beautiful thing. Like,
dude, people remember it.
That's right. When we were in the studio, one of the things about Brian McTernan that he stripped from me was any possibility of an identity. So I'm on stage and I'm thinking of like 20 different ways to be someone I'm not.
Right.
Wow.
I didn't know where that was, and I don't think I'll ever find it because of him as far as a performer goes. And so with Matt, honestly, I think you might have felt a little lost, but you were actually totally focused and doing what you were supposed to do. I mean, because from the first time I had a phone call with Matt, I remembered him. So, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean, I totally have a different appreciation for it today than I did when I was 19 years old,
Right.
You guys, I did not show up to this podcast today thinking that I was just going to be, it was going to be affirmation central for Matt. But you guys are sweet.
Well, but I'm just trying to make a good point that there's people I've watched that I hate their music, but I can't deny that they're doing something special up there that is original. And
yeah,
for me, getting up there, maybe I wrote a good song, but I could not give people something they hadn't seen before. I couldn't figure, if I can't, it's kind of like being a father. It's like, if I'm not good for myself, I can't be good for my kid. It was the same thing with people who came to see my band. Like, I had no clue who I was. So how could they ever like it?
So
that's really interesting.
Yeah, I really like that train of thought. I think that's a really great way of connecting those dots.
And I have a 3-year-old son also, and like that kind of sentiment. It's like prior to having the son, it's like I'll run on absolute fumes and I will run myself into the ground for years at a time. Like I will destroy my mental health and my body, and there's just no ramification for it, you know? And then after having the boy, it's like, I really got to start taking care of myself. And it doesn't feel like such a vulnerable thing to do it now, because like I'm trying to know myself so then I can be good for him. And that's actually informed a lot of my professional and artistic decisions.
I think
also.
it makes decisions easier because you're like, no, I'm going to go with the parts of me that I think are the best, and I'm going to make decisions from that place.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I just recently made that like parallel between the two. And I think it took me becoming a father to really be able to identify that's what was my problem was. You know? But, you know, I mean, I can't sell myself if I don't know who I am.
It's very true. You can't market what you don't know.
That's right. And so I was out there just like a floundering fish. You know, I was just like flopping on the stage, like hoping someone would just be like, wow, what a great singer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's really all we had, you know, and we were like flailing around like all the other bands because that's what you had to do, but it's not us. You know, I've only played a few shows in my life where it was on my terms and people freaked out. That's all I needed in my life for live performing, where I was just like, it's cool. It's cool. I'm good. I don't need it ever again. So,
well, that's like, that speaks to the artist in you, because I don't feel like you're necessarily driven by something that is a success. You're driven by something that you're proud of, something that you feel like you created the moment you wanted to create, you created the connection that you wanted to create, and it doesn't matter if it gets affirmed or not, you're happy with it.
Absolutely. Especially now. I mean, I think then there was a lot of, insecurity and the failure thoughts because, you know, everything's measured on some sort of commercial success, which we had none of, but I am fine with it. It just took a long time to realize. So
you guys like toured for 2 years, and then how does everything start to wind down and the band sort of break up?
Well, we just imploded. You know, we had one guy quit, which really was the end. You know, the whole time I was a real dick to him because I just thought he didn't try hard enough as a player. But looking back, you know, he was the guy who tied it all together. Actually, all of us were, all four.
Wow.
You know, you get rid of one, it's over. And we did. We got rid of him basically by making him quit. And then I knew as soon as we played our first show after him, I was like, it's over, man. This is it. Like, we either need Justin back or it's over. And he wasn't going to come back. And so our management at that point was just like grasping at straws. So they made us move to LA, which I don't hate LA or whatever anymore, but what a bad decision. So we moved to LA. We were there for like 6 months. I was like, wow, I've never lived more contrived than I do right now. It's over. You know, we broke up out there, and my dad.
What was funding your move to LA? Like, did
was
the label
pay for it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, they paid for everything.
Oh my God.
That's the only way we were able to
majors.
tour. You know.
Yeah.
How else can you go out every night, get booed, and go to the next show? Somebody's funding it.
We've got some tricks for you. Been there.
We've got some budget software,
but
makes it easier.
But when we were in LA, I got a phone call that my dad wasn't doing great, and so I had told the other guys like, "Hey guys, I'm going to roll home and see how Dad's doing and all that." And I got home, and 3 weeks later, he passed away. So,
oh my
gosh,
yeah. So it was a really good decision, and we just kind of like, we all just kind of were like, all right, we're tired. It's over.
Did that give you a different perspective at that moment, losing your dad, and then looking at going back to LA or not going back to LA?
Oh, I was never going back. Like,
did you know that before you left?
Oh yeah, I knew. I was like, this is my way out. Like,
great question.
I actually felt freed from it all. Like, I think if nothing had happened to Dad, Mom, whatever, I think I would have just kept kind of mediocrely doing what they told me to do.
So do you think that's because doing what they told you to do or doing what the label told you to do?
That's what I'm talking about, the label.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because you wanted to continue your dad's, like, this affirmation of this decision you made?
I think it's just fear of failure, fear of never getting another chance. You know, it's like, it's kind of like when I do a spec mix and they don't like it, you know, every time that happens, I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm never going to get another one. you know? And then
Yeah,
I get a
dude.
phone call like, hey man, will you do this whole
So
album?
dramatic.
And I'm like, oh great. Yeah. But I'm just, I'm trying to make a like
No,
an
yeah.
example. And at that age, when you sign a major label deal, you feel like there's nowhere to go but down. So I think I would have just kind of,
And there's nothing to go back to, right? Because you didn't come up from really anything. You started from nothing. You ended up on the major label. There's nothing to fall back on.
No, I mean, honestly, the best way to do it is like that rootsy campaign. Work your ass off. Tour for 7 years straight on your terms.
Yeah.
And then one day it just clicks and you get that one sync deal and then you start playing the bigger tour and then it becomes this thing where you're this empire of business based on your
Right.
band, but you did it your way. And, we just got thrown into it and it was the wrong thing. And I knew when I left, I could be making this up, but I think I like started crying like when we left LA County. I was so relieved, even though I was driving back to Florida to be with my dad. He was about to die.
I was imagining you flying that.
No, we drove it because we had a ton of gear and all that stuff. So, I had, a 40-hour trip to think about everything. And it was the greatest thing. It was the greatest time in my life and the worst.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
I can understand that.
So what's your relationship with your mom like at that point? Like
Oh, I mean, it's so good.
super tight?
Oh, we've never not been tight. She's, best friend for real. Not just
Wow.
saying that like, oh, we were close. It's like, no, phone call 3 times a day, just because, my sister like moved out when I was younger and my dad was gone. It was just me and her and Uncle Kim for all those years. So my sister was always around. She was great. I'm just saying like, my sister wanted to live elsewhere. And so it was kind of just mom and I for a lot of years. So yeah, that's that.
So when everything fizzles with the band, clearly there has to be some point where you get home and start making more records or like...
I was really lost for a lot of years after dad died. I was in a really serious relationship that ended when dad died. I think I just went in a really... just the deepest depression imaginable. Like,
And this is all like in Florida back home.
I actually, when we were on tour, funny, we lived in St. Augustine, Florida. I missed a little bit. I should have told you, I'm sorry. But the label, real quick, just a little preface, they gave us the money to basically choose a town to go write our record. And so we chose St. Augustine because it's just a really cool, beautiful city. And
Sure. A lot of history.
so we went there and we just kind of never left while we were on tour. But after St. Augustine, the girl and dad died. I was like, I'll move to Atlanta and just try a bigger city. And that's when shit got so dark in my life. Like just alone, why did I move to a new place after all of that?
What's the age here? How old were you?
25, I guess.
Yeah.
25, 26, maybe. Yeah, 26. Dad died when I was 26. Sorry. I apologize if my timeline seems a little wacky. It's kind of hard to put together, but
No, I think it's pretty stable right now.
when I went to Atlanta, there was a friend who had whose dad had a studio and he had a room, and so he let me rent the room. And this was my first time I feel like where I was lying to myself about any possibility of having work, because I don't know what made me think that I could go and rent a room and have work, because at this point I hadn't built any clientele.
Yeah.
This is as
because-
a producer?
Yeah, because after the band, I was like, oh, I'm just going to stay in music like every other band dork does. Right, Matt?
Right.
But,
Zing!
no, me and Matt have kind of had that kind of path, and you realize, with anything, you just have to stick to it.
There's at least 2 or 3 times a week where I feel like you and I are commiserating about our career paths and what we're doing, what the day-to-day looks like.
Yeah, it's very hard. It's still very hard, even though I'm very established. But at that time, I had no establishment, and I went and I rented this room. I could pay for it for like 2 months, and then I just kind of collapsed within myself. And it's really weird, but I had this really cool apartment in Atlanta, and my mom was helping me pay for it, and she's already broke.
Yeah.
Which is just such a weird feeling to to just be so helpless, but to still have this like idea that you should be something else. And so you're living this life that you have not yet attained because someone else is helping you keep it sort of attained. You know what I mean? Yeah. I caved in on myself hard. I mean, I was thinking about suicide. I was going to like psychiatrist, you name it. I mean,
so you're not joking. Shit got dark.
Yeah. I mean, I was ready to kill myself for sure. I'd kind of figured it out how I was going to do it and just like all this stuff just because I was so miserable. I have never been that miserable. And like, it makes me really sad for anyone who's dealing with those kind of dark times because it's a state of psychosis in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Where you just can't put the pieces together no matter how hard you try. And
so what was it? What was the thing that you were kind of hanging on to? Or I guess it put more bluntly, why didn't you?
Guts. I don't think I could have done it. You know what I mean? I don't think I could have gone that dark.
Was that like you didn't want to leave like your mom in any sort of state?
I'm specifically thinking about your mom, and if I think
projecting. That's a big part of it. Yeah, I think breaking her heart would be the worst thing you could ever do, especially with all that she had done for me. What a way to hurt her, and a lot of times people say suicide's selfish, but mine would have been, and I don't think that's the case a lot of times with suicide, honestly.
Sure.
I think life is just very hard, and I think a lot of people just can't handle it, and it breaks my heart. But for me, it was definitely a selfish place, even though I couldn't control it. And so, honestly, what kind of brought me out of the gutter was I got an email one day, a text from my friend Ryan Leal, who I knew from Pensacola, and really good guy, still friends. Ryan's great. And he was like, hey, dude, I don't know if I remember this right, but don't you live in Atlanta? And I think I texted him back like 4 days later, and I was like, yeah, I live here. He was like, well, I just started working at the studio in Atlanta called Glow in the Dark. Do you know about Glow in the Dark? And I was like, oh, Matt Goldman's place. He's like, dude, come hang out. Let's have lunch, And I went over there and I met Matt, and Matt was so awesome, and Ryan was awesome. And Matt literally said to me that day, he's like, hey, man, if you ever get a project, just do it at my studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so at the same time,
for everybody listening to the podcast right now who is unfamiliar with Matt Goldman, he's also another producer who works in Atlanta, who's a mutual friend of mine and Jeremy's, and you all might know him from, didn't he produce Define the Great Line by Underoath? I feel like he's been trying to shake like that hardcore scene for a while, but he did some really
what I think
records.
broke him was Copeland. He did all those great Copeland records, and he did, dude, just countless albums from that genre. Really, at that time, he was very good, man. I mean, he's still really good. I'm just saying, he was kind of all over the place, but he kind of took me in. And it's funny, right? At the same time, I got an email from my friend Jason Hammerker, who was in this band called Frodus. You ever heard of Frodus?
Oh yeah. Weren't they were on Tooth and Nail for a hot minute, I think.
Yeah, but just so good. Such a reputable DC hardcore band. And he was like, dude, I have this friend in Tampa. He's got a band called Guiltmaker. He was like, they should come record with you. And I was like, sure, man. And sure enough, Dan from the band Guiltmaker called me, and we talked about it. He's just the nicest person, and he was like, yeah, we don't have a ton of money, but we would love to come to Atlanta and just record. And I was like, let's do it. And I called Matt. I told Matt how much money they had, and he's like, yeah, I'm moving into this new place. There's a room that's not even set up. You set it up, you can use it.
Wow.
And so I set it up with this little system I had and everything. At the time, I had like a G5, like a 002 and all that stuff. And Guiltmaker guys came up, and I was so depressed at the time they came up, and they can tell, but I can honestly say those guys sort of saved my life. Like, they came in and they were so funny. Like, Sean, the singer, and I will say that Dan and Sean now are two of my best friends, like, in the world. Like, it's a daily occurrence, a daily phone call, but they came in and they were playing. I really love Guiltmaker, and they had this really like dreamy, heavy music, and they really just gave me a light at the end of the tunnel of a new project, and they just supported me, and they knew I was like having a really hard time. Yeah. And they were always just really kind about it and really funny. And I really feel like that album dragged me out of the gutter. That and Matt Goldman taking me in, basically. So that kind of got like my wheels turning like in a positive direction. Like, okay, I did that one. I could do another one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It only takes one project, like, and things can turn around.
Well, just as far as like the way my brain was working, you know, because dude, it has taken years and years to get over that. I'd say it was 4 years before I was like, ooh, whoa, that was crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, do you think it has something to do with like momentum? Like, I know for a lot of, you know, and I'm not a psychologist clearly, but I have had some personal and then some, you know, family experience with just mental illness. And a lot of it just seems like, you know, you hit this spiral, you know, and you build this momentum of downward trajectory, and the further you go in the spiral, the harder it is to get out. And it's sort of like, once you get that, you hit the fulcrum where it changes and it goes in the opposite direction, and you get some momentum in a different direction. It's like a completely different perspective on life, right?
No, that's totally true. But I mean, I can also attest, because my wife's actually a clinical counselor.
She's actually awesome.
Yeah, the whole point of that is like that she's one of the things we talk about a lot of times is like there's not one session that changes everything. It's like it literally just is, you just have to decide, I'm going to try to walk in a different direction, and it might take years to come out of whatever it is that you've found yourself in. And it's different for everybody, but there's never like a, oh my God, I just heard this thing and all of a sudden like my life turned around. Like you carry residue from depression and from really like traumatic experiences in your life for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
You know, I can feel that feeling still right now. I know what it feels like. Almost as good as a smell or a taste. Like it's there all the time. So, and you guys are right. You know, you spiral down, it's so hard to get out of, but then you take that one little step towards a better life and a little bit of laughter, and you start spiraling up. It takes a long time, but it eventually gets there. And that's what those guys did for me, them and Matt and Ryan. They gave me a place to go where I wasn't alone, where they didn't judge me for being so sad. So, because some places I don't have time for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Know? And those guys were just like, oh man, I'm sorry, dude. You want to go to lunch? I want Chinese. You know, and I'd be like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And they pay for me, and just that was like the beginning of the end of the depression. So,
man, that's so cool.
It's cool. I owe a lot to those people. So, and I actually owe a lot to Atlanta, even though I never want to go back.
Yeah, I can only attest to the back half of that phrase. I just if I don't go back to Atlanta, it's not gonna hurt my feelings. But mostly it's just so hot, and I feel like my life is nothing but traffic there. But
totally.
Yeah.
All right.
So like you at this point in the story, you are working out at Glow in the Dark at Matt's studio. You're starting to take on more projects. And
here and there, yep. Just kind of struggling to get by financially, but starting to do some stuff where a little bit, you know, mom's helping me less. There we go.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like I've come in contact with a bunch of records that you've made kind of during that time, but you ultimately transition out of Glow in the Dark and set up your own place, or what did that look like?
Well, I met a girl. I came home one Christmas and I met a girl named Ava, who's now my wife. And when I was in Atlanta, we were long distancing, and I just one day I was like, you know what, I'm going home. I'm going to go to Florida. I like the idea of Ava. I want to be around mom and all that. So I just one day picked up and moved back home.
Wow.
And moved in with Ava, and I got a house, and she was totally cool with what I was doing. And at this point, I had a mixing console that I had bought, and I had a little bit more of an elaborate system. I had a Rosetta.
Nice.
And
wink.
we know about the Rosettas. We got this cool house, and she let me have 2 of the bedrooms just for my studio, and it actually sounded awesome. And I did a bunch of albums in that house in Fort Walton Beach, my town I'm in right now. So that's kind of how I got out of Atlanta. And then Ava and I started getting really serious, and my friend John Duke called me and was like, hey man, I'm leaving Atlanta. It's funny.
Yeah.
Atlanta. He's like, would you be interested in renting my house? Because there was a studio built out in the basement. And I was like, sure, I'll come rent it. So we went up there. Me and Ava moved back to Atlanta.
Wow.
North of Atlanta. Because at this point, I'm getting a little older and I'm just like, all right, I just got to do some stuff to like keep this thing going.
Yeah.
And in Fort Walton, there's just not a lot happening. It's a resort place. It's beautiful.
Yes, momentum. You just have to keep the momentum, right? The spiral.
Right. And I didn't want to go back to Atlanta, but I just wanted to go somewhere where I'm like, okay, man, I just want to keep feeling this feeling that I'm trying.
Yeah.
And so we moved into this house, and it was great. And the house, I feel like there was some bad mojo in that house. I don't know what it was, but we only lived there.
Back up. Bad mojo. You mean like
I
haunted?
felt like a weird presence.
Oh my God, we could do a whole hour on this,
like maybe
Jeremy.
something had happened in that house in Atlanta.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. It was so bad that it sent Ava into a depression.
Wait, and it was your friend that. So why did he end up leaving? Did he ever mention to you at any point
he had gotten a divorce? It was just time to move on. So he was moving on, just going somewhere new.
And he lived in the house
right?
when
But
he got
had
a
never
divorce.
mentioned to you anything about feelings or like in the house.
Nope.
Wow.
And so we were there, and Ava started getting really depressed.
Did she have a history of that, or was that just
none?
Oh.
She's a bright lady. She's really funny,
Yeah.
so funny. And so she was getting really sad. And this is a time when I did John Mark McMillan's album, and I had done the first Norma Jean record, Meridional.
Yeah.
that I did. A lot has happened at this point.
You have to be a pretty diverse or a pretty like.
Oh yeah, to move from John Mark to Norma Jean.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we can talk about that in a minute. That's something I really pride myself in. But I recorded this band from New York City called Rome that my friend Jimmy Reeves, who was in a band called Spitfire, was in. And also Dennis from Five Iron Frenzy was in it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Dennis
Dennis played bass, and they came to Atlanta and recorded with me. And it was super fun. It was really interesting. But Dennis, the whole time we were recording, like I had a really cool decked out little basement studio. I had a Neotech Series 1. It just felt really cool down in that studio. I really liked it. And the whole time we were recording, he was like, I have this company. If you know Dennis, he's really direct and like he's a lovely guy, but he's just like, he's Dennis, he's kind of an intense personality.
Yeah, so doesn't he run Singing Serpent? Or
that's what I'm getting to. So like when he leaves, he writes me this email like, hey man, here's my phone number. Call me sometime. I'd love to talk to you about something.
Yeah.
I know Ava's struggling at this time, and I'm like, I kind of hope something else comes up because I think we need to make a move. So Dennis calls me, I call Dennis, and he's just like, look, dude, I got this company. It's called Singing Serpent. We do ad music. I have a studio in Soho in Manhattan that's just empty. I would love for you to occupy it. And so I was
in
like,
Manhattan.
Yeah, in Soho. And I was just like, well, I don't know if I could afford that and everything. He's like, just come see me. And so Ava and I literally look that day at plane tickets for the next day, and they were running some sort of deal. Bro, we got on an airplane, went to New York like the next day.
Oh my gosh.
What was the date? Or were we like 2004 right now?
No, we're way past that. 08? 09?
Okay.
Wow.
Something.
Okay.
I had done a lot. Okay. Like I'm saying like in my career, like records and stuff,
Yeah.
a lot had come up, but so we went up there and visited, and the studio was really interesting. I really loved it. Just pure New York vibe. Like the elevator with the gate and, like just incredible thing. And Dennis is just like, what would it take to get you to come up here? I'm like, I don't know what to offer you. And like, he's just like, I need a studio. I need a guy who has a discography and who can do all this stuff because we need it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like what all do you want me to do? And so we worked out this really great deal where I had an affordable rent and they still had my services because, rent at the studio would be like 20 grand or something a month. So he hooked me up and we immediately made the decision to move. So we packed up our dogs. We packed up all of our stuff. We sold up all this crap because we were going
that's not just like moving anywhere. Like moving to New York.
Yeah,
is,
it's a big deal. So I want to know like how much of this, like you got this crazy cool deal. One of your friends, like you're going to end up in this great situation in New York, but also you're living in a damn haunted house. Like how much of this had to do with the haunted house?
I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the house had such bad vibes, and we sold up a bunch of stuff because we were moving down to a 1-bedroom apartment. We loaded the truck, and I'm not kidding you, like we left the house on our way to move to New York. And we're talking about like 24-hour trip. And Ava's in my car and I'm in the truck, and she calls me and she's like, I've never been so happy in my life. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I'm so glad we left that house. She's like, I love John, your friend. I appreciate everything he did for us, but something was wrong with me and that house.
Yeah.
And I've never been happier. Literally, every time we stop for gas, she'd get out and be like, yeah, and like hugging me. Depression gone.
Just like that.
I love it.
It was just
How long
just
did you
gone.
live there? How long did you?
We lived in that house for 9 months.
Oh my gosh.
So we made it a really quick decision, and I don't know what it was. I don't think I got the vibes as bad as she did, but I definitely felt good about moving to New York. It was a huge gamble financially, but I was just like, you know what? Let's do it. And I had talked to my mom about it, and mom was just like, everyone needs to live in New York at some point. So she was really supportive, and we went and we crushed it there, and we had a great time. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're running the studio, or the Singing Serpent studio, and I mean, so you're ending up doing like music bed stuff for them, or just like mixed jobs, or
I think they wanted a composer at the beginning. And once again, I am a good composer. I think I'm probably more equipped for film, but for the ad world, it's so cutthroat. And I honestly, I don't think it's for me composing for that stuff. Maybe at some point, but I think on a technical level, I gave them a tool they didn't have in New York. So I could do multiple things, whether it be just file organization, or we need to do a huge VO session, or we need to record a jazz band for a Weight Watchers commercial, whatever. I could give them this, and I was really good at it. So it was a good trade, as hard as it was. Like sometimes it was really frustrating, but I gave them a tool they didn't have before. Plus, clients could come and see a full working studio, and that got them pumped.
Yeah.
It was a cool deal. And we felt amazing living in New York. That was such a happy time, even though it was such a hard life up there.
Yeah.
We loved it.
So you ended up doing the 5-iron record there in New York. Cause I remember Reese telling me that he was working with a guy named Jeremy, in New York at Dennis's place or whatever.
Well, they tried me out. Dennis had talked to me about it, and he was like, would you be interested in doing 5-iron? I'm like, well, 5-iron's like a pretty important band for their scene. Like, I would love to have a try, And he was like, we're going to need to talk to Scott, because Scott's like this big player in it. And Scott's I love Scott, okay? But at the time, I was like, that dude's intense, man. Like... Well, just because he's on the phone, he's so chill.
Yeah.
Him and totally. And everything. And you're just like, I think he's gonna kill me. But
Scott's probably one of my favorite people.
He is so cool. I love him. He's so interesting. You're just like, Scott has it together. I do not. But they came over and we did one song, which was "Dark and Stormy Night," I think.
Yeah.
And they loved it. And then they did that Kickstarter that freaking went crazy.
Yeah.
And they were so nice, because they had originally offered me one amount, and then when the Kickstarter went crazy, they offered me more. And so it was a really great budget, and it was so much work, because you don't realize there's 8 members in the band.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to tackle, and Scott saved my neck, because he's a perfectionist, and so with any kind of like detailed editing and stuff, he's just so good at it. Like,
yeah, he's fantastic.
And I'm good at it too, but I am not good at it like Scott is good at it. Like, I think my gifts are in the sonic palette, like how I can make something sound. He wanted certain things a certain way, so he really helped me with that. And
Scott just has like a really great technical ear for stuff. Like he hears when something is wrong, or I guess the better way of saying it is, like, if I can play something for Scott and nothing pulls his ear, I'm completely happy to sign off on it.
Totally.
Yeah. So
he's really skilled. He knew exactly what he wanted to hear on everything, and it was just really neat. I think it was really an awesome thing for Dennis to feel like he brought someone onto the table who could really perform, and they ended up loving the record. They loved it, and I'm really proud of it. I think it slams.
I think it's the best sounding record they've ever done. Now, there was 10 years between records, and technology has moved a little bit since the last time they recorded, but
it holds up, man.
Yeah, it's hands down my favorite 5-iron record
that
they've ever done.
Thank you. It was hard to do, but really fun. So
Yeah. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, man.
So you are not in New York anymore. What was the impetus for that move?
Well, prepare your soul. It gets sad again. But one of my best friends in the world, his name was Shane Gibson. He was in Korn for a while. He played guitar in Korn.
Yeah.
We grew up together here. He's from Fort Walton, and he drank himself to death, and he died April 15th. What year was that? But it was the night of the blood moon. Do you remember that way back then? The blood moon. But he died, and I kind of had this talk with my wife when we were in New York, and we had no plans on leaving New York.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we would have left.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And she's like, what? I was like, I don't think I can live far away from the people I care about. And she's just like, I know, it's something I've been thinking about. I was like, I'm just thinking about my mother. Like,
Yeah.
my mom had health issues, and I was just like, Shane's dead. Like, I mean, I can't deal with this anymore. Like, I got to go where everyone is, even though I don't want to live in Florida, So we made the decision to move home, and it was good timing because my mom passed away about 3 months later.
Oh my God.
Did you expect that?
No, she had a urinary tract infection, which turned into a kidney infection, which in turn poisoned her blood. And
Oh my God. How many people get those? I mean, that's such a common
But what
medical
ended
thing.
up killing her is called sepsis, which is basically infection of the blood, and
Oh my
it's
gosh.
actually pretty common, and
Wow.
it killed her in like 3 days. So, but before that, it was a really good decision because my friend Sam, one of my closest friends from college and high school, he got killed in Afghanistan, and my uncle Kim, who had Downs, he died right before Shane.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it was like this onslaught of just loss that made me go back home to Florida. And honestly, I had gotten to a point, not to get too weird there, but I gotten to a point with my career where I was genuinely like, I can do this anywhere. I mean, I don't think it'll be easier in Florida, but I can do it anywhere. So I moved back to Florida with just like, I'm going to do it and everything will be fine. And so I had my studio in the house for a while, and then I found this great building, and that's it. But it was the best decision I ever made. I mean, I love New York. I think if Ava and I were millionaires, we'd be there right now. Maybe Connecticut or something. I just love the feel of it. I love the diversity and that everyone's accepted. I love that. I felt it when I was there. It's like, I felt like I was part of a city. I mean, you start to love the Giants and the Yankees, and
It's
just because
energizing.
you just love being a part of something. So coming back here was difficult, but it was the best decision I ever made because I got to be with my mom for 3 months before she left us. So,
Well, dude, this is like what's the window for all that happening? I mean, like your friend, your uncle, your mom. This is
a
it
year and a
seems like
half.
over the course of a year.
Yeah.
Like,
and
I
what year
can't-
is this?
Mom died 3 years ago on January 20th.
3 years ago would have been 15.
15, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So right around then, it just hit me full bore. So, but as hard as it's been to lose mom, I mean, it crushed me, but I was good with mom. Like, we were good. Like, there's no door left unclosed with her. Like, she knew how I felt. I know how she felt. Like, when I lost dad, I was definitely just like, I don't even know how to feel. Like, I have so much I want to say.
Yeah.
I'll never get to say it with her. I was just like, I just knew,
So there was that spiraling downward shortly after losing your dad. Did you experience the same sort of spiral?
No, because I just think I had a legitimate closure because she and I were so close.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but it was different. I wish I could have more conversations with her. I wish she could have met my kid and all that stuff, but we had each other figured out.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like she's gone. I just don't. I'm not saying that in a spiritual way or anything. I just don't feel like she's gone. And I think that's because we didn't have anything we had to resolve. Like where with dad, there was countless things. I miss her, and it was horrible, and it was really hard for a couple months, just that longing, the little things, the phone calls, the messages, I still get reminded all the time, like she loved making this jambalaya, and so I can go through my email and search my mom's email and it'll bring up an email she wrote me telling me how to do the jambalaya. So it's like,
right.
She's still here, so yeah, that's how that happened. And I've just done my best to keep, like you say, the spiral going upwards, and it is hard sometimes, you just don't get over losing parents, regardless of the relationship, I mean, you just, everyone reacts to it differently, but you just don't really get over it.
I think that's really powerful, Jeremy, because I think that you might be one of the only people that I've ever met that had I would consider it a gift to reach a point where you're losing a parent and that you don't feel like there's anything critical that's been left unsaid, that she left on really, really great terms. It was a friendly wave. It wasn't.
I feel lucky, just so lucky because that's all because of her, man. She was special. Like her funeral, dude, was so insane. I don't know the number, but I'm thinking we're in the thousands showed up, and like they had overflow rooms where they were broadcasting it.
Yeah.
She's really important, like to a lot of people. Yeah. I mean, to this day, people still come up to me, are you Jan Griffith's son? And I'm like, yes. And they're like, oh, she was the greatest person I ever met. She saved my life. What I mean? She was an incredible school teacher. She taught school for 46 years. Yeah. It's pretty interesting how that works. Like, the differences between the two being in the way they left. So,
yeah.
So that's that.
Yeah. This is,
you want to talk about plugins?
Well, we do have some questions, but like so first of all, I just want to say thank you for sharing so much of your story. These are exactly the kind of stories that Davey and I are the most interested in. And it's
my pleasure.
This is really what I was hoping would happen today, because I think that sharing those kinds of things like put something powerful back into the world, like being able to open up about like times that you've gone through, failures and times that you've gone through successes, and like just humanizing the human experience, I feel like doesn't happen enough. And sometimes simply sharing a story helps validate someone, or maybe provides that friend that can be there for them when they're in their darkest minute and they really need some guys to come into the studio and make some jokes.
I appreciate that. I mean, we live in a time where, there's so much comparison of lives and who's doing what. I just, everyone's life is hard, no matter what's going on, whether their Instagram says so or not. Everyone has a hard go. So it's so great to talk about it. Like for me, like I have no problem talking about it now, because I just know it's one step closer to move up that ladder of feeling good about my life and making the best of it as I keep going, which it's a hard life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's.
What I really appreciate about all this is this, and I've said this on this podcast, and Matt and I say this all the time. It's just this idea of keeping your head down and just do your work, like do the thing you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And like things will go horribly wrong for a long, long, long time. But if you just keep doing the thing you're supposed to do,
so true.
You sort of put yourself in these positions where these crazy things happen. Like you meet this guy who gives you space in his studio to do a record, who you end up with this woman in a haunted house, and you end up in New York doing this crazy stuff in New York. You do the 5-iron record. It blows up on Kickstarter. It's one of the most incredible success stories of that year in music, period.
Yep.
You end up back home to be with your mom. It's just, if you hadn't kept, we will never know what would have happened, but like just keeping your head down and doing the thing you're supposed to do.
Well, no, that's a good point. Like people a lot of times talk about having a thick skin.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to that, because it's not necessarily being like, oh, I can take criticism. It's honestly just being like what you just said, just like, all right, cool. Like, I didn't do it that time. I didn't do it this time. I didn't do it the next time.
And all 3 times hurt. Like all 3 times
it
really
all
fucking
hurts.
hurt.
Yeah.
But I just got to keep going. I got to do my best. And if I have to do something else, it's just, like you said, you just got to keep going.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm still in my studio. That's why, there are times that are still really hard and there are times that are still really great. It is what it is. Got to keep trying.
Jeremy Griffith, ladies and gentlemen. We have a couple questions that we like to ask people that come on the show. What is it? Break one, be one, burn one?
We still don't have a good name for this segment or have a good name for this question.
We don't have a good name for this segment, but the
questions
are fun.
I got it.
Okay.
It's be in, begin, or break up.
Yeah.
So we're gonna give you these 3 tasks. You're gonna tell us a band that you would like to be in, like an existing band that you could sing or play drums or whatever you want to do for an existing band that plays today.
Anything you want to do in that band, you get to join it tomorrow.
Go.
Difficult. A band? Whew. I don't know if it would be a band.
Well, then that's not the game, Jeremy. It's a band.
Yeah, you don't get to
Okay,
pick
it has
the
to be
game,
a band.
Jeremy.
Just define the rules of the game.
What is a band I've even listened to lately? Jeez.
Quit beating
I
around
wanna-
the bush. You want to be in 11-7.
Yeah, after your video, I do. I want that glowing keyboard.
Done.
Sold.
Fine. I'll take 11-7. That'd be fun. I don't know. I can't honestly answer that question.
Okay.
Okay, historically, a band from the past. You can be Freddie Mercury's tech guy if you want.
That I would want to be in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Historically, Osric Tentacles.
Who is this?
Crickets.
Look it up. That's all I got to say.
Osric
Tentacles is a band from the UK. They're like a synthesizer jam band from like the 80s and 90s. I don't know why I want to play flute in their band. That's all I want to do.
Okay. All right, we're just going to leave that at
Okay,
that. We're going
yes.
to move to the
Matt
next
will
one.
love this band. Matt
I'm gonna
will
have to
love
do
it.
so. I'm gonna have to look it up online because that's nuts. I've never heard of this band before ever.
Okay, so the next question is a band that you would begin today. So you get to pick your members. They could be your friends. They could be the most talented guys you know at the position. But if you had to start a band today and you had your choice, your pick of the litter, who is in your band and what's the name of the band?
Your dream team.
First off, I wouldn't ever start a band again in my life.
Let's say you had to. Ostrich Tentacles
You're
aren't
being
going
a
to let you
terrible
in.
contestant right now, Jeremy.
Osric
Tentacles.
Perfect bandmates, probably my wife because she can rip guitar and sing great.
What?
Jonathan Berlin, Sunbears
Okay.
would be in my band. Drummer, Ringo.
Okay.
Just because I don't want to overplay her at all.
You want to meet Potatoes Guy.
All right.
I just want somebody who doesn't think they're a great drummer who is actually pretty good to play. And keyboard guy, if Peter Gabriel would come play and play some keys, that'd be cool. That'd be my band.
Okay, what's the name of that band?
That's tough. Every name's taken. 7.
The name, like the Will Smith movie with the organs?
I think that's 8.
Is that 8?
Is it?
Only reason I said 7 is because I just watched that Seinfeld where Costanza wants to name the baby 7. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll take it.
Okay, so
it's not that funny. Okay, I'm sorry.
Final question. If you could break up any band, and this also works retroactively, if there's a band in the past that you wish had never existed
You can write
because
them out
of the
of
horrible
existence.
effects they've had on music, you could also break them up.
This is a really tough question because I blame some of the worst music on some of the better bands. I blame Pearl Jam. I blame Helmet.
Wow.
Like
What do you
Helmet,
blame Helmet for?
New rock exists because of Helmet.
Okay.
All right.
So Limp Bizkit.
I'm telling you, the drop D riffs. I'm telling you, Helmet is the reason.
Okay. I'm
And I
going
love
to
Helmet.
YouTube. All right.
But if any band for the demise of the world, I mean, there's so many new ones that are terrible, like Attila, but
Oh my gosh. They've actually come up on this podcast.
I just, that band just kind of makes me sad. It's like, dudes, chill.
Yeah.
But
Chill, dudes. Come on.
I think worse, I mean, maybe ICP or something. I don't know, but
Have also came up on this podcast.
I feel like Creed's been brought up a few times.
Creed's just a bunch of lost white kids,
Yeah,
just
like
they got thrown into the fire. I don't like the music, obviously, but I feel like they're different. I feel like there's other bands out there that were intentionally horrible,
Right.
that hurt people.
yeah.
ICP.
Yeah, that's
ICP is a good example, but
It comes to
someone
mind.
who loves ICP would definitely be like, "What are you talking about, man? They saved my life."
They're not listening to 11 You Life, the podcast.
But I'm saying like a
ICP fans.
juggalo would think that, like, oh, they saved my life.
That's true. I feel like I've seen a couple documentaries on that whole experience.
To me, it's terrifying, but to them, it's like I had no one before I met the juggalos.
Yeah, that's like
I'm like, I can't dismiss that community if like they have something that brings them joy. I don't know. It's like that's a tough question, just because most bands that have been successful that I hate, like they did something good for someone. Does that answer the question? Jeez.
Yeah,
I was a little too positive there.
You were a little too positive there. We were expecting some vitriol when we
Is
started.
there no
talking
gear
about-
questions? Do you want gear?
Yeah, what's the one piece of gear in the room with you right now that if you had to sell everything else, what's the one thing you would not sell?
My monitors, my studio monitors, my speakers.
Really? What are you monitoring through?
I have Questeds.
Oh yeah, I think you mentioned that.
That's the best speaker I've ever heard in my life. I mean, probably my most valuable thing in the studio, but
You don't think it would be that thing you pulled from the garage when you were a kid that's sitting behind you right now?
The TIAC
well,
4-track?
that's different. You can't touch that because that's heirloom. But
Again, you can't make up the rules.
no, sorry, bro.
This is not your show, Jeremy.
Can we just say everything that works?
Sure, whatever.
All right. Well, if that's the case, it'd be my acoustic guitar. That was my mom's. So
Okay. See, that's
yeah.
the place to end.
Yeah,
so
That's where we end it.
that's it. I
Cool.
love it. So, what's the for all of the Pro Tools nerds who listen to the podcast, what's the one plugin that you can't mix without? Just will not even pull up the session unless you know that you can load this up.
Digi 3 EQ.
That's so unsexy.
I mean, dude, because they change, they evolve, new companies come around. Like, there was a minute I couldn't live without UAD, and now I can't live without, I don't know, Slate and JST, and I have every Waves plugin ever made. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like I'm getting to a place where I can use most everything
Yeah,
and be fine with it.
yeah.
I'm like, what I use on 11tyseven, I think has already changed to now for what I use.
Mm.
I'm just I try to evolve with it so it doesn't get stagnant. I try to try new things all the time just to test myself, to have a different visual that gives me a different way of actually EQing or compressing. So
Do you remember any of the go-tos that sort of spanned across the songs on Rad Science?
well, with you in the side chaining thing, like which I really love, but I think I had to use some of the things that you use to do that. And so it brought out a few, like, it brought out that Waves SSL comp that I hadn't used in, I don't know how long. Not
That's
that
one
I
of
don't
my
think it's
favorite
good.
ones ever.
Well, I think it's very good. I do think it's very good. I have the UAD one too, and I have a few others that are like it. I actually use primarily outboard compressors for all my buses when I do a Pro Tools mix. But that SSL comp was in a lot of stuff. I used a lot of SSL UAD. I used Altiverb a ton on your record. Isotope. I love Isotope.
Love Isotope.
So I'm sure all that stuff was going on. Plus a lot of outboard gear. So
I think that's why I got so excited that you agreed to mix our record, because I knew that you were an outboard gear junkie and that we were going to keep a lot of the tracks in the real world and kind of pull them out of plug-in land to a degree.
Well, I really believe you can do that even in plug-in land. The problem with Pro Tools for me a lot of times, and I love it, is that you can just do too much. Sometimes the greatest tool to give yourself is to limit yourself.
Yeah.
So maybe do a mix and be like, okay, well, I'm only going to use 2 plugs per channel, or I'm only going to use this series of plugs, and just kind of see where it goes. That's why I love console mixing. I just mixed a record on my console, and it's so limiting because it's a 28 channel Neotech, and it's like, okay, well, that's what you got. And so you do less, therefore your mix comes out differently.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. It's crazy that less is more almost always.
Yeah, I'm learning that lesson constantly. For everybody listening, thank you for sticking with us this long. This has been probably the longest 11 Life episode to date, but
Yeah,
gosh,
totally.
we got like such an incredible life story from Jeremy Griffith. If you want to check out what he is up to and some of the amazing records that he has worked on, we're going to put a link to his website and discography in the show notes, so you can check that out.
Sweet.
If there's one thing that you should leave this episode thinking, it's that you probably want me to make your record and Jeremy to mix it.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone's going to walk away with, guys.
Or have Jeremy do all of it.
Jesus.
I'm down.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that, Jeremy. That was amazing. And yeah,
My pleasure.
if you guys have any questions for Jeremy, or just have any commentary, or have any thoughts on the story that you heard, or something else that you want to share, yeah, please let us know. Hit us up on Facebook, on the socials. We'll have links to ways that you can get in touch with us in the show notes.
And please, anyone who's listening, you can write me a message on my website and I'll happily reply. It's not a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah, that's JeremySHGriffith.com.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
That's right. Jeremy spelled how you would spell Jeremy.
That's
Just
right.
to clear it up.
That's
the
why I
move.
said we'll put it in the show notes.
Okay, yeah,
so nobody
sorry.
has to like get that right. Anyway, thanks for hanging with us, you guys. This has been one of the funnest episodes of 11D Life that we've done, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Life is a production of Rock Candy Recordings and Rock Candy